I'll be discussing forbidden knowledge and occult secrets, but I want to give you a warning. In fact, this point is made in the novella Dorian Gray, in the Oscar Wilde story. Do not practice these things yourself. In fact, as the main hero found in the Dorian Gray story, the practice of evil will destroy you. Now, first of all, beware of strangers, if you will, bearing apples. In medieval lore, bearing an apple was a secret sign that sorcerers used to communicate with one another. An apple sliced vertically resembles the female womb, and the apple sliced horizontally resembles the pentagram. Of course, the five-sided figure is an evil figure. It represents the 5 bloody wounds of the crucified Christ. Also tonight, remember there's a difference between religion and magic. Religion requires faith. Magic, which is dangerous, requires courage. Now, according to legend, magic can confer great powers. With magic, the sorcerer can brew potions to confer immortality, invulnerability, the power of flight, and the faculty of prophecy. Also with magic, the sorcerer can shapeshift into animal forms, and he can turn men into pigs and flowers into beautiful women. Now, there are 2 basic ideas when I'm discussing these spells. At least I should say several basic ideas. One, imitative magic. Like causes like. If 2 things resemble one another in shape, form, or color, there's a mystical connection. If you burn a voodoo doll, you burn the person it represents. A second principle is contagious magic. According to this principle, things long connected remain connected across space and time. In other words, a sorcerer, using your hair clippings, nail parings, clothing, can hex you. Other principles. You will note that in religion, we dance clockwise for worship. To release occult powers, the forces of darkness move counterclockwise. In magic, every action must be single. If you stake a vampire to the earth, you must strike him with a single blow. A second blow will reanimate the dead person. Spells should be recited, never read. Spells must never be translated, for translating the spells causes them to lose their power. Also, everything used by the magician must be virgin. The item must never have been used by any other person for any other purpose. You must always have a magic circle. When engaging in magic, stand inside the circle for protection. Make 3 concentric circles from strips of bloody skin cut from a young goat. The largest circle should be 9 feet in diameter. Between the circles, inscribe the names of a god and magical figures. Secure each circle to the floor by 4 nails stolen from the coffin of a dead baby. During magical operations, never leave the circle. And the only metals allowed inside the circle are gold and silver. Always remember to bring magical herbs. Wolfbane, for example, also called monk's hood. According to legend, it first grew from the vomit of a hellhound. It produces altered states of consciousness and is used in shape-shifting magic. Belladonna, also called deadly nightshade, is a poisonous substance used in dark magical acts. It's used to cause astral projection, sending your soul elsewhere, such as the land of the dead. Henbane is used in the mysterious witch's ointment. Foxglove is used in love spells. Oddly enough, today, foxglove is the source of the heart drug digitalis used in medicine. Mandrake, also called the devil's testicles by the Arabs, has power over the creatures of darkness. According to legend, the first mandrake grew from the sperm ejaculated from an executed man. Difficult to harvest, it shrieks when uprooted and will cause madness. This is referred to in Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet, Act 4, Scene 3. That's why to safely extract mandrake, they tied it to a trained dog and whipped the dog. Always have your grimoire. That's a magical text. It's simply the medieval French word for grammar or rules. One of the most infamous grimoires is the Red Book of Apin. Known to have existed a century ago, it was allegedly stolen from the devil. The manuscript contained a large number of runes and incantations. The binding was made from some kind of blackened leather and was soft and hairy like the skin of a wolf. The strange volume allegedly conferred dark power on the person who possessed it. The The book was so dangerous, the person who used it had to wear a circle of iron on his brow when he used it. The last known owner of this particular book was a Scottish family, the now extinct Stuarts of Inverness, Ohio. Perhaps even more infamous would be the Agrippa book, named after Heinrich Cornelius Agrippa, a Renaissance sorcerer. It was supposedly 4 feet tall and very thick. Its pages allegedly were made from human skin. The book was supposedly so evil that it had to be kept in chains in an empty room when not in use. Oddly, the book itself was considered a demon, and the demon had an intimate relationship with the owners. Anyone else who used it could experience madness, disfigurement, or death. When the owner of the book died, the book could sense the death and would unleash terror. According to legend, when the owner died, either a new owner had to be found or the book had to be burned and the ashes spread on consecrated ground. When conducting spells, the time for magic is night. Day is for religion, night is for sorcery. The moon, by the way, will govern the time. It's considered a giant luminescent corpse in the sky. It exerts a malign, undead influence on the earth. The time of the moon, the darkness of night, again, is used for these operations. When the moon is waxing, when it's growing larger, that's the time for constructive magic, love magic, healing magic, so forth. The horns of the crescent moon will point to the east. During the waning moon, that's a time for destructive magic, sending hexes, sickness, and so forth. The horns of the moon will point to the west. Herbs are most important if gathered at the full moon. Saturday, the day of Saturn, is a time of danger and destruction, so it's often used. Tuesday, the day of Mars, is the day of blood. According to medieval Christian legend, Cain killed Abel on Tuesday, John the Baptist was killed on Tuesday, and Eve had her first flow of blood on Tuesday. That's why it's always used in this particular setting. Now, the greatest of all sorcerers will be the product of incest. Specifically, he's the son of a mother who mated with her own son. And to gain magical power, the best way is to spend a night with the decomposing corpse of a sorcerer. Another way to, without showing fear by the way, another way to gain magical power, at midnight, this comes from India, go to a cemetery, a burning ground for corpses, or a place where criminals have been executed. Sit on the corpse and meditate. If you can do this without fear, ghosts and female demons will become your slaves and will do what you command. To protect yourself from magic, make an amulet out of a mummified human penis and wear it around your neck. For added protection, smear it with fresh menstrual blood. Now, I want to discuss, first of all, scrying. That's a method of divination. Now, today people tend to view it as viewing the future only. In fact, it's to let you see the unknown past, the unknown present, and the unknown future. Unknown past, for example, may be what you were in a previous life, or, for example, the identity of an unknown parent. The unknown future will be your future destiny. Unknown present is where buried treasure is hidden, or where a winning lottery number can be ascertained. Scrying always involves a shiny surface. To scry, the Aztecs of Mexico used the famous smoky mirror, which is a piece of obsidian glass. The Tibetans used polished steel. Some people use regular mirrors, but you should use one with 3 sides. By the way, according to legend, spirits and demons always lie to you, but they must speak the truth if they're inside of a triangle. Hence that notion. Nostradamus, the most famous of all scryers, used an ancient, he's from the 16th century, used an ancient Greek technique. Alone in his study, he set up a brass tripod with a bowl of water. Using a wand, he touched the tripod, then anointed his robe with a few drops of water. He gazed into the still water until it became cloudy, and he saw visions. The crystal ball, by the way, is a method invented in the 18th century. It's literally a piece of glass, a round globe. You must never touch the crystal ball. That reduces its effectiveness. When looking into it, pass your right hand over it. This will help images appear. Now, a more elaborate procedure, you need to be inside a structure of wood. You must be in a high and solitary place. You must be far from all noise and disturbance. You must dress completely in white. Only your eyes must be visible. The weather must be calm. It must have been calm for 3 days. You need 3 vases. The sun must never ever touch these vases. Only moonlight, starlight, and candlelight. 1 vase is made of earthenware. It contains oil of myrrh. This is foreseeing the unknown past. Another vase is made of copper. It contains wine. This is foreseeing the unknown present. 3rd vase is made of glass. It contains water. This is foreseeing the unknown future. You will need a wand of poplar wood. Half the wand must be without bark. You will need 2 or more candles placed in the spaces between the vases, and a white cloth must cover the glass vase. Other methods, somewhat simpler. Pour hot wax into water on New Year's Eve. The shape of the wax will answer your question. Another method, this was used by Joseph in the Old Testament. Make a divining cup by pouring oil and water into a chalice. You can read the future in the patterns. Another method, place roots of wild carrots, also called Queen Anne's lace, under your pillow. You will dream of the future. Finally, another method, this is for young girls only. To see your future love in a dream, you must pick a sprig of yew tree from a graveyard that you have never visited. If you sleep with the sprig under your pillow, you will see your future love in a dream. Now, various superstitions. If you see stars by day, a war is coming. Never whistle in the dark. This draws spirits. Never mention a dead person's name until he has decomposed in the grave. Never gamble with a woman in a room unless she is also gambling. Never propose to a woman in a church. It curses the marriage. On the wedding night, the last person to fall asleep lives longest. You'll remember that, and I will be on your wedding night someday. If ivy grows profusely on a grave, a woman who died of a broken heart is buried there. If a person is followed by dogs, he's a pervert and a lecher. Some Halloween spells. A blindfolded male has to choose 1 of 3 bowls. This always has to be done on the night of Hallows Eve. 1 bowl is empty, 1 has dirty water, 1 has clean water. If he chooses the first, he will remain unmarried and die alone. If he chooses the third, he will marry a virgin. Freudian slip there. If he chooses the second, he will marry a woman of loose morals. Another Halloween tradition, 2 lovers must throw 2 hazelnuts into a fire. 1 nut symbolizes the man, the other nut symbolizes the woman. If 1 nut jumps out of the flames, that person will be unfaithful in the relationship. If 1 nut burns, that person will be passionate. If both nuts burn, there will be marriage. How to make a monster. According to legend, a child born or conceived during eclipses will be a monster. Oddly enough, Pope John Paul II was born during a solar eclipse. An aphrodisiac. To increase sexual desire, eat the eyelashes of a happily married couple. To suppress sexual desire, eat lettuce. Lettuce is an aphrodisiac. It will dissipate your lust. I have a feeling I just caused trouble for the eating area here. A love spell. Write a love spell on rice paper, dissolve the paper in water, secretly add it to the drink of the person you desire. Another technique, hold 7 cloves in one hand. Concentrate on making someone love you. Then burn the cloves in a fire. Another method, with a mirror, reflect moonlight into the eyes of the sleeping person. He or she will not be able to resist you. Another technique, to make a love potion, dry the liver of a dead black cat. Grind the liver into a powder, mix the powder with tea, pour it from a black teapot, and give it to your target to drink. Another method involves dried toad, human semen, bat's blood, graveyard dirt, properly mixed, given in their food. And finally, another person, this comes from another technique from ancient Rome, from Horace, the writer. Bury a young boy with his head protruding from the ground while still alive. Once the boy has starved to death, make a love potion from his liver. This is a love potion or a love spell for men only. Buy a small mirror without haggling over the price. Write the name of the woman you desire 3 times on the back of the mirror. Next, find a pair of copulating dogs. Capture their reflection in the mirror while they're copulating. Hide the mirror in a place where she will pass by frequently. Leave the mirror there for 9 days. If you retrieve the mirror and carry it in your pocket, she will not be able to resist you. I'm using this one for years. To keep a lover forever faithful. While in a church with the communion host in your mouth, kiss your beloved. He or she will remain forever faithful. To make a barren woman fertile. A woman wanting to become pregnant should rest nude on her back under the full moon at night. At sunrise, the dew covering her body will make her fertile. In India, a technique, if a woman wants to have a baby, she should kiss the flaccid organ of a priest or mentally retarded man. How to tell if a person is promiscuous? If you pin a flower to their chest and it rapidly withers, he or she is promiscuous. How to turn a woman into a hussy? Give a woman the blouse or dress of a harlot, and give her a mirror that a prostitute used to look in every day. The woman will become shameful and lustful. How to jinx someone's wedding? Wear green to their wedding. The brighter the green, the more effective the curse. How to make a man impotent? Steal some of his pubic hair. While uttering a curse, tie knots in the hair. How to make a husband blind to his wife's adulteries? The wife must steal copper coins from the eyes of a corpse. She must wash those coins in wine. If she gives her husband the wine to drink, he will never notice her sexual infidelities. How to make a person cruel? Give him beer mixed with pulverized human bones to drink. A hex spell with a completely new knife, cut a lemon in 2, using hatred, words of hatred against someone. That person will feel anguish or coldness even at a distance. Another hex spell, take nails stolen from a coffin, and with a stone hammer, pound the nails into the footprint of an enemy while uttering curses. Cover the nails and the print with a little graveyard dust. Death spell, hire a corrupt Roman Catholic priest to conduct a requiem mass, that's a mass for the dead, or someone who is still alive. The victim will stop eating, grow thin, spit blood, and die. How to be damned? If you point at the full moon 9 times, 9 consecutive times, you will not enter heaven. How to enter heaven? If you put a stillborn baby in an open grave, the next person buried there will go to heaven. How to make a sick person sicker? Have a menstruating woman sleep in the room. When a woman is in her fertile time, her presence invigorates. When she is menstruating, her presence weakens. That's why there's so many taboos about menstruating women in the Old Testament. How to cure hemorrhoids? Rub your hemorrhoids with sweat from a newly dead corpse. How to stay healthy? Carry an acorn of oak in your pocket. It preserves health and vitality. How to become invisible? This is again from India. Fast 3 nights and 3 days under the zodiacal sign of Cancer. You must find the skull of a man murdered by a weapon or killed on a gallows. Fill the skull with soil and barley seed. Irrigate the skull pot that you made with the milk of goats and the milk of sheep. When the barley grows, make a garland from the shoots. When you wear it, it will become invisible to others. Another technique, this is from medieval Europe, construct a hand of glory. Fashion a candle from the fat of a murdered fetus. Mount the candle on the dried, severed hand of a hanged man. When you light the candle, you can move in darkness without being seen. By the way, to make anything that's invisible visible, throw dog's blood on it. This is used in China to make ghosts appear. How to learn the secrets of others. Find a blackish stone called milkstone, also called galactite. When you put this stone in your mouth, you will learn the secrets of others. How to turn an animal into a human being. Let water rest 20 years in a human skull. According to Asian legend, any animal that drinks that water acquires the power to take human shape at will. In fact, in Korean history, they have a famous story of a female fox, a vixen, who became a woman and altered their history. Regarding the werewolf, famous werewolves in history include Peter Stubb, executed in 16th century Germany for being a werewolf. He confessed, among other things, to eating his own son's brain. Another infamous werewolf, Gilles Garnier from France, burned at the stake in 1573 for eating children. In the history of ancient Greece, Greek historians mention a man, a werewolf, who recovered from the condition and finished first place in an Olympic event because of the strength he gained. By the way, Greek legend, if you could remain without, if you spent 9 years without eating a human being when you were a werewolf, you will return to human shape. Now, there are 3 types of werewolves in traditional lore. Hereditary werewolves, these run in human families because of curse. Involuntary werewolves, they become werewolves from misfortune. For example, in legend, the illegitimate son of a priest is damned to become a werewolf. Also, if you survive the bite of a werewolf, you will become a werewolf. That almost never happens, though, because they tear you to shreds. Voluntary werewolves, these are people who choose to become werewolves and commit depravities to do so. One technique, you must commit several abominations. After drinking rainwater from the footprint of a wolf, you must eat the raw brains of a wolf, drink blood from the brain of an insane man, and wear a shirt made from the skin of a man executed for murder. To liberate a werewolf, the silver bullet, by the way, doesn't work. That's simply Hollywood legend. You must stab his forehead 3 times with a knife. For a werewolf to end his own curse, he must tear open a pregnant woman and eat her fetus. If the fetus is male, he will recover. Regarding vampires, there are many of these in the legends. By the way, these are not from fiction, these are from traditional lore. According to legend, a suicide, a sorcerer, and the illegitimate child of parents who are themselves illegitimate, and anyone dies who become from a vampire bite will become a vampire. It is also believed that a woman who dies while nursing her own baby will become a vampire. Also, if a witch has sex with the devil, the child will become a vampire. In medieval legend, anyone born with red hair is likely to become a vampire. In medieval legend, Judas, Satan, and Cain were redheads. That's why in Eastern Europe, when redheads died, they were buried with communion hosts in their mouth. There are also traditions of hereditary vampires that run in families. Glamis Castle, near Dundee, Scotland, is the ancestral seat of the Strathmore family. And according to tradition, by the way, Macbeth killed Duncan there. Well, that's more tradition than history. Castle is called the most haunted site in Scotland. It does have a secret room. If you go outside and count the windows and then go inside and count the doors, there really is an extra room. According to legend, coincidentally, the skeptics claim, often prominent families used to keep secret rooms in the 18th, 19th centuries earlier to keep mentally ill members of the family there, because they didn't want to send them away to embarrass or humiliate the family. Well, in the medieval, I should say early legend, there's a tradition that a vampire is occasionally born in the Strathmore family. He will live several hundred years, and he's a monster, and they keep him in the secret room because they can tell he's a vampire from birth. Curiously, you all know, or at least have seen on television, a member of the Strathmore family, the mother of Queen Elizabeth II, present queen. Her mother comes from this family. She married George VI. To make a vampire, shed human blood on a grave. The body in the grave will become a vampire. To protect yourself, use holy oil, that's olive oil consecrated by a priest. Incidentally, holy water is really weak. You use oil. You use white flowers of garlic, not the garlic. It's the white flowers. The crucifix in legend repulses vampires, but you must hold it right side up. If you hold it upside down, it becomes a satanic emblem. In Chinese legend, they use jade to protect themselves from vampires. Also, they believe a willow branch will protect you from vampires. To kill a vampire, you must stake him to the earth. Putting a stake in his heart while he's standing up won't work. He has to be staked to the earth, cut off his head, and burn the corpse. Now, sort of switching dramatically from vampires, how to see a Native American spirit or god. I've rejected this one because people often ask this. This comes from the Sioux, or the Dakota people. Before any important undertaking a man would try to have a vision, this is the technique. Wear only a robe, a loincloth, and moccasins. Take only a knife, a pipe, and tobacco. Go to a high place where there is solitude. Remove every living thing from an area large enough to sit on or lie on. As you enter your prepared space, ask the four winds not to send inclement weather. Once you have entered your prepared space, stay there until you have had a vision or until you have to leave or frankly die from starvation and so forth. In the space, by the way, one thing about Native American religion that's interesting is they decide when they do things. So in other words, the person inside the space will just decide on his own when it's time to leave and he has failed. In the space, meditate on your quest. You may invoke gods, mentally or verbally, either in song or in prayer. You may stand, sit, or lie down. You may be awake or asleep, but do not leave the space. You may smoke as often as you wish, but you must not eat or drink anything. The vision will come either while you are awake or in your dream. It will appear as a living thing or as an inanimate object. It may speak clearly, or it may speak in a mysterious language that you do not understand, or it may speak in the language of animals such as birds. Always the vision will make itself obvious that it has answered your quest. How to see elves and fairies, or I should say a few references to elves and fairies. According to medieval legend, when rebel angels revolted and fell with Lucifer, the worst were sent to hell, the rest were imprisoned on earth and became elves and fairies. They are considered malicious beings. Victorian novels, by the way, turn them into cutesy little creatures, but in fact, in traditional lore, they're quite dangerous. They fly on moonbeams and like to dance by moonlight in circles. If you see an elf, he may smite you with elf stroke. You will become paralyzed and unable to speak. Incidentally, our word stroke comes from this. When people had strokes, it was believed that they had been struck by the fairies. To see one, the oak, the ash, and the thorn, where they grow together, that's the fairy triad. And that's where fairies haunt. To protect yourself from them, they're afraid of iron in any form. That's the origin of hanging horseshoes over doors. It's the iron that protects you, by the way, not the shape. To see demons, the Jewish Talmud says demons outnumber humans. There are far more demons than humans. And to see them, burn portions of a black cat and place the ashes in your eyes. By the way, according to legend, the devil invented the cat accidentally. Where to see demons? They're fond of dreary and deserted places, such as dark forests and barren moors. They also like places of violence, such as the site of the gallows or the scene of a murder. They also are drawn to crossroads. In numerology, 2 symbolizes the devil, 3 symbolizes God, in medieval lore, the sign of the Trinity. Thus, 2 fingers is the horn of Satan. 3 fingers are used for blessings. To protect yourself from demons, the first thing it'll do is attack. So they will use garlic flowers to protect people from these. In Japan, evil spirits are repelled by peaches. Also in legend, iron and steel drive away all spirits, good and bad. That's why no iron could be brought into a Greek temple in the ancient world. And also no iron was used to construct ancient Jewish altars or to build the Temple of Solomon. Also, salt thrown onto a fire will drive demons from a room. Regarding the Antichrist, the man of sin, in legend he will be the son of Satan and a harlot. He's supposed to be inverted. Jesus is the son of God and a virgin. The Antichrist will be the son of Satan and a harlot. To recognize him, you all know the number is 666, although frankly we're not certain of that. In some old manuscripts, the number is given as 616. According to legend, he will be bald. One of his eyes will be markedly larger than the other. His left arm will be longer than his right, and he'll be deaf in the right ear. He will also be enormously wealthy. According to tradition, for the past 2,000 years, minions of Satan have been bearing gold and silver for him to use when he comes. The Antichrist legend taps into a rather unusual tradition. This was actually alluded to in the Omen films. The so-called Knights of the Apocalypse. Officially, their existence is denied, but they're supposed to be a secret Roman Catholic group founded in 1693 that allegedly hunts the Antichrist. Their mission is to kill him in the cradle while he's a baby and still weak. There are rumors that if they exist, they've done this several times already, including in 1666. By the way, in 1994, members of a rather curious movement in France and French Canada called the Order of the Solar Temple, before committing a collective suicide because they thought the end time was coming, they hammered a stake through the heart of a 3-month-old baby named Emmanuel Dutoit because they believed it was the Antichrist. They wanted to kill it before they left. How to see Satan in legend at midnight, go to a crossroads. Kneel, naked, say the Lord's Prayer backward. Careful, people have gone insane doing that. Another technique is to look into a mirror and call Satan's name. The mirror should be triangular. He will appear and rip out your soul. Another technique, if a man masturbates and eats his own semen, the devil will appear. Another technique, say a black mass, also called the Mass of Saint Cyr. During the Mass, you must tear out the eyes of a living rooster. Well, the Mass of Saint Cyr is actually the Roman Catholic Mass said in Latin backward. Not only are the words backward, or the words pronounced backward. Understand, unless you're magically protected, he will appear and kill you in a horrible way. Satan, by the way, likes to corrupt and seduce innocent women. For example, faithful wives, virgins with long hair, and nuns. His favorite disguises are wealthy gentlemen, Christian clergymen, and learned scholar. My personal opinion, he'll come as a sociologist. In a famous trial in 1275, Angela de la Barthe claimed that not only did she see the devil, she had a sexual relationship with him. She said his reproductive fluids were ice cold, and she gave birth to a baby that was half wolf and half snake, and it would not drink her milk, so she had to feed it with stolen human babies, which it ate alive. And finally, as we get near the end, ghost hunting. By the way, we have SSU Otherworld Society over here. Ghosts are the malevolent dead. They are people who had a violent, painful, or unhappy death and remain angry with the living. To go ghost hunting, you must never go alone. The Aboriginal people of Australia say that if a person is alone, a ghost may do mischief to him, even if the ghost is from a loved one. However, spirits, according to the Aboriginal people, never molest people in a group. And that's why, again, Aboriginal people traditionally never were alone. If you go ghost hunting, take a candle. According to legend, if it burns blue, a spirit or ghost is present. That's actually alluded to in Shakespeare, Richard III. Modern science denies that ghosts exist, but millions of people have claimed to have seen them. In fact, oddly enough, no one has ever seen an electron. Millions have claimed to see ghosts. We disbelieve one and believe the other. Estimates are England, which has the reputation as the most haunted country in the world, may have 50,000 ghosts. Ghosts are normally harmless, but there are exceptions. The Flying Dutchman, the ghost ship, sails for eternity with the crew of dead souls. The legend varies as to how it started, but the legend always says that the captain comes ashore every 100 years, one night, to find a woman. Anyone who sees the ship, according to legend, will die a horrible death. Where to see ghosts? The site of a violent crime is the best place to see a ghost. Go to a place where a war, a suicide, or a murder or lethal accident occurred. Guido von List, a 19th and early 20th century occultist, said that violence actually impregnates a spot. Perhaps the best place of all would be the Colosseum in Rome. It covers 6 acres, was designed to hold 50,000 to 80,000 people. It was used for gladiatorial contests. Its open area where the arena was covered 49,000 square feet. Over its history, approximately 100 humans died for every square foot of arena space. 4.8 million people died one at a time in the Roman Colosseum. Ghosts are also drawn to places where strong negative emotions are manifested. If people living in a house together feel strong fear, anger, or hatred, they increase the chances of a haunting. Oddly, almost all haunting occurs around running water, a stream, a river, groundwater in the earth, also heavy rain, and especially with lightning. Ghosts appear in day or night, but daylight weakens them. They are most common in humid, foggy, rainy nights. How to invoke the dead? Paracelsus, the Renaissance scholar, said the fumes of fresh blood draw the dead. Fresh blood, animal or human, attracts spirits. Menstrual blood, by the way, attracts demons. Another technique, you can summon a ghost simply by naming a dead person. By the way, that's actually the origin of the practice when people would say, mention a dead person and say, may you rest in peace. What they actually were doing was making certain he stayed in the tomb. Animals, especially dogs, are sensitive to the presence of ghosts. General rule, if dogs are acting strongly, ghosts are present. If cats are acting weirdly, demons are present. Among humans, not everyone can see them. Children, especially young girls under 12, are best able to see ghosts. If you cannot actually see the ghost, you may sense its presence. One technique is to look for cold spots. Use your left hand, which is especially receptive. If you see a ghost, in fact, they used to do this in England, the very next day in daylight, start digging at the site. According to legend, ghosts like to hang around buried treasure. To communicate with ghosts, Carl Jung, the psychologist, said the dead are everywhere among the living and can be addressed, but only if you know the language. Ebenezer Sibley, 18th century English occultist, disagreed. He said only the spirits of those murdered in circumstances uncommonly horrid and execrable are able to speak. Everyone agrees, however, that to speak to a ghost, you must speak first. According to tradition, it cannot talk until you talk to him. If the ghost replies, be careful and do not believe anything he says. Terrestrial spirits are great liars. Also, by the way, ghosts will have less information than you have. In memory, knowledge, and information, they are frozen in time. The ghost will have in his mind only the information he had on the day of his death. So if he died in 1710, he still thinks it's 1710, and the only things he will know about are what occurred in that particular period. They are changeless. To protect yourself from ghosts, they fear sharp or pointed objects like knives and thorns. To destroy a ghost, you must find its corpse and burn it. According to legend, as long as the skull and 2 leg bones remain, the ghost lives. Other methods: dismember the corpse, stick it to the earth, or weigh it down underwater. So another method, bury the corpse face down in a grave filled with thorns. Nicholas Steinberg, a London murderer who committed suicide in 1834, he was buried in such a fashion by the British authorities to keep him from coming back. Omens of death. A clock chimes unexpectedly between hours. A white flower. By the way, white's actually the symbol of death. Blooms out of season. Well, that's why in voodoo, for example, white food symbolizes it, like rice and milk. A black beetle scrambles over a shoe. Worst of all, if you cannot see your own reflection in a mirror, it is a sign of approaching death. Funny enough, that's actually a condition that's now diagnosed in psychology, people who cannot see themselves in mirrors. So the psychologist will give you a prescription, and the occultist will say, kiss yourself goodbye. If you dream about an old man with a mummified penis, you are going to die or marry Hugh Hefner. A good omen, if you see a dead person dressed in white, offering you something, rejoice. That means you're going to encounter riches. Another good omen, if you dream of a tomb in good condition, it means a wedding or a birth in your family. And finally, we'll close with what is considered the most sinister of all magical operations, necromancy. That's literally divination of the dead. By the way, this is not calling a spirit into your parlor. This is going to a cemetery at night, digging up a corpse, opening the coffin, viewing the body, and making the body speak to you. It's the most dangerous and dubious of all magical pursuits. Those who practice it risk becoming possessed. It's done to discover buried treasure or unknown secrets. To awaken the dead, you must prepare yourself 9 days and 9 nights. You must wear grave clothing stolen from corpses. Dig up dead people and steal their clothes. You must recite a funeral service over yourself, a funeral service from a church. You must live on a diet of dog's flesh and black bread baked without salt or leavening. You must drink the unfermented juice of grapes. After 9 days and 9 nights, at midnight, go to a grave. A stormy night with wind, rain, and lightning, that's the best. It's difficult for the dead to communicate on a calm night. Draw a circle around the grave. Burn henbane, aloe wood, hemlock, saffron, and mandrake. Open the grave and remove the corpse. Place the head to the east and the arms and legs in the position of Christ crucified. Ring a necromancy bell. That is a bell that has rested on a grave for 7 days and 7 nights. Such a bell has the power to awaken the dead. Touch the corpse 3 times with a wooden wand and command it to rise. Don't ask it, order it to rise. 3 times command the corpse to answer your question. Declare to the corpse that it will wander and suffer torments for 21 years if it does not obey. If you do the operation correctly according to legend, and by the way, this is from Sir Gilbert Scott from the 16th century, the corpse will sit up and answer all your questions. The recently dead will answer in a hollow voice. The other cadavers will squeak incoherently like mice. And by the way, you can only do this for the first year after death. When the rite is completed, reward the deceased by burning his corpse so that he can never be disturbed again. We have reason to believe, by the way, that's the origin of cremation. It was actually to keep people from coming back to torment the living. And finally, one final point. I have not revealed all my secrets this evening, and that's intentional. According to traditional people from the islands in the Pacific, you must never, ever, ever reveal all your secrets. On the day you do that, you die. So thank you very much. Be sure to take the remaining fruits. If you like, but again, thanks for coming. I see the food's gone. Instead of taking it, you walked out.
I don't think it ended up very good on the recorder.
I know it didn't end up good on the recorder. It was too close and I was hearing feedback all the way through it. And that had to come from the recorder.
Good nature.